Hello! I never expected anything to happen on that trip. Honestly, it was supposed to be boring. Just another 3-day out-of-town conference with too many panels, bad coffee, and awkward networking events. But the minute I found out I'd be sharing a hotel room with Evan, everything shifted. Evan was, well, he was the kind of guy everyone noticed. Tall, broad-shouldered, hair always perfectly messy in a way that made it look like he either had a personal stylist or just won the genetic lottery. Smart, confident, and maddeningly straight, or at least, that's what I always assumed. We'd worked together for almost a year. We weren't exactly close, but not strangers either. Just friendly coworkers who shared inside jokes, exchanged snarky comments during meetings, and sometimes grabbed after-work drinks with the team. So when our company's travel coordinator emailed me saying, "Hey, sorry, the hotel was fully booked. You're sharing with Evan," my stomach flipped. Not that I had a choice. The company wasn't exactly paying for extra rooms, and Evan, ever the easygoing guy, had just replied, "Cool with me if it's cool with you." I told myself it was fine. Totally fine. Grown adults. 2 beds. No big deal. Except it was. The second we walked into the hotel room that first evening, with its painfully neutral decor and way too small space, reality sank in. Our beds were practically side by side with just a tiny nightstand between them. "Cozy," Evan grinned, tossing his duffel onto one bed like he hadn't just shattered my internal sense of peace. I forced a laugh, pretending to be unbothered. "Yeah, luxury accommodations." He flopped down dramatically, hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling. "Hey, at least the minibar's fully stocked." I busied myself unpacking, or rather pretending to. Anything to avoid looking at him stretched out like that. Jesus. We went through the motions that first day. The boring welcome reception. Polite small talk with other companies. Free wine that tasted like vinegar. But all the while, this weird awareness hung between us. Not exactly tension. Not yet. But something. Back in the room that night, it was late. We both kicked off our shoes, loosened ties, and collapsed onto our beds. Evan was scrolling on his phone, feet hanging off the edge. "I swear," he sighed, "if I have to listen to one more person talk about market trends, I'm walking straight into the lake tomorrow." I laughed, easing back against my pillow. Mood. There was a pause. Then, more quietly, he asked, "Hey, you cool with me crashing in just boxers? It's way too hot in here." My brain short-circuited for a moment. "Yeah, man, go for it." He stood, peeled off his jeans in one smooth motion, and sat back down like it was nothing. Just a pair of black boxer briefs clinging in all the right places. My eyes flicked away fast, pretending to look at my phone, though my thumb wasn't even moving. Evan sighed. "God, it's so nice not pretending to be professional for 5 minutes." I smirked. "Yeah, you clean up well, though." He glanced over, one eyebrow raised. "You think so?" That caught me off guard. I blinked, unsure how to respond. "I mean, yeah, objectively." He let out a soft laugh. "Well, thanks. You don't look half bad yourself, you know." I turned toward him slowly, half expecting to see a teasing smirk, but his expression was softer. Not joking. Not fully, anyway. There was a long moment where neither of us said anything. The hum of the air conditioner filled the space between us. Then Evan shifted, sitting upright, his feet flat on the floor, hands resting on his knees. He stared straight ahead. Voice quieter now. "Can I be real with you for a second?" he asked. "Yeah, of course." He scratched the back of his neck, like he was nervous. "It's kinda weird, but lately, I don't know, man. I've been thinking about stuff. About people. Guys, even." My heart stopped. "I mean, it's not something I ever really thought about before," he continued, glancing at me briefly before looking away again. "But, I don't know, being around you, I've caught myself wondering." He let the sentence hang there, unfinished, like he wasn't sure what reaction he'd get. I swallowed, pulse thudding loud in my ears, wondering like... Evan finally turned fully toward me, his gaze steady now, more open than I'd ever seen it. Like, what it would be like if, I don't know, if something were to happen. He let out a breath, like the words alone had been a weight. I stared at him, completely thrown. My brain scrambled to catch up, to figure out if I was reading this right. Was this a joke? A test? But looking at him, his face serious, his hands nervously fidgeting, it didn't feel like a joke. My voice came out quieter than I intended. Evan, are you saying... I don't know what I'm saying, man, he interrupted, shaking his head. Just that, maybe I'm not as straight as I thought. The air between us felt electric, charged with something dangerous and thrilling. Neither of us moved. We just sat there, looking at each other. Two guys caught in a moment neither of us had ever prepared for. And that's when everything started to change. I don't know how long we just sat there. Maybe a minute, maybe 5. The air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on both of us, daring someone to make the next move. Evan rubbed the back of his neck, glancing toward the window like maybe he could escape out of it. I probably shouldn't have said that, he mumbled. No, my throat felt dry. I'm glad you did. It's honest. He laughed under his breath, nervous. Yeah, well, honest is terrifying. I sat up, leaning my elbows on my knees, mirroring his posture. You've never... never. He shook his head. Never really thought about it seriously. Maybe the occasional random thought. But it's always been girls, you know? Yeah. But lately, he paused, tapping his fingers against his knee. I don't know. You and me hanging out, the way it feels. Sometimes I catch myself looking at you and wondering if there's more to it. My stomach flipped. My heart was pounding so loud it felt like it echoed in the tiny hotel room. Dude, I started, then stopped. Because what the hell was I even supposed to say to that? Evan shifted, eyes flicking toward me before dropping back to his hands. If this is weird, I get it. Fully. Just forget I said anything. I took a deep breath. It's not weird. He looked up. Really looked. His eyes were this stormy gray blue, like they didn't know whether to run or stay. I continued, it's a little unexpected, but not weird. A slow grin tugged at the corner of his mouth, but it was hesitant. Unexpected's fair. The tension between us shifted. Still there, but different now. More curious than nervous. So, Evan cleared his throat. Have you ever... Yeah, I nodded, smiling a little. I've been with guys. His eyebrows rose slightly. Right, of course. Dumb question. No, not dumb. A pause. Then he asked it. What's it like? I blinked. What like? You know. He gestured vaguely between us. Being with... a guy. I swallowed, trying not to laugh out of sheer nerves. That's a broad question. Evan ran a hand through his hair, messing it up even more. Yeah, sorry, I don't even know why I asked. Just curiosity, I guess. I shifted, suddenly hyper-aware of how small the space between our beds felt. Well, depends. On the person. On the connection. His gaze softened. Is it different? Different from being with a girl? I nodded, leaning back against the headboard. Yeah. And no, physically, yeah. Of course it's different. But emotionally, it's about the same. It's about who you connect with. Evan sat there quietly, processing. His fingers drummed against his knee again. Yeah, he said after a moment. That makes sense. Another long pause. Then, quieter, he asked, do you ever think about me? That way? The question hit me like a truck. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. Dude. His face immediately went red. Shit, forget I said that. God. No, I cut him off. No, I'm just surprised you asked. Evan swallowed. His foot bounced nervously. Yeah, well, I've been thinking a lot. I looked at him, really looked at him, the way his broad shoulders tensed, the way his hands clenched together like he wasn't sure whether to bolt or stay. The nerves, the uncertainty. But underneath all that was something else. Curiosity, want. Yeah, I said finally, voice soft. Yeah, I've thought about you. His eyes snapped to mine, wide, searching. Really? I nodded. Yeah. The tension between us exploded into something heavier. He bit his bottom lip like he was trying to keep a million thoughts from spilling out. So, I mean, is it bad that I kinda want to try something? I blinked. Try, like... Evan shifted, running his hand through his hair again. I don't even know what I'm saying, man. I keep thinking, like, what if I never figure it out because I never try anything? His knee bumped against mine, not by accident this time. Okay, I said quietly. What do you want to try? Evan's lips parted like he was going to answer, but then he shook his head and let out this nervous little laugh. I don't know, just something. We sat there in silence again. The hum of the air conditioner. The faint traffic sounds from the street outside. My heartbeat. Then, slowly, like he was testing the water, Evan reached out and brushed his fingers against my wrist. Light. Barely there. It sent an electric jolt straight up my arm. He didn't pull away. Is this okay? He asked, his voice quieter now. Not teasing, not joking, just real. I nodded. Yeah, it's okay. His fingers lingered there for a moment longer before curling around my wrist. His palm warm against my skin. His eyes flicked up to meet mine. Okay? He whispered. Okay? For the first time since this whole wild conversation started, he smiled. A real one. And I smiled back. That's when it really hit me. Something was changing, and neither of us was ready to stop it. For a few seconds, or maybe minutes, we just sat like that, his fingers loosely wrapped around my wrist, mine resting on my knee, frozen in place like if either of us moved too quickly, we'd break whatever strange spell had settled over us. I could see it on his face, the push and pull of curiosity and hesitation. His thumb traced a small circle against the inside of my wrist, like he wasn't even fully conscious of doing it. But I was. Oh, I was. I didn't think it'd feel like this, Evan said quietly, almost to himself. Feel like what? I asked, my voice low but steady. I don't know. His eyes flicked between my face and where his hand held mine. Not weird. Not wrong. Just kinda good? My mouth went dry. Yeah, it does. His lips curved into this half-nervous, half-excited grin. That's surprising. Is it? I asked, my knee nudging his slightly. Evan chuckled under his breath, shaking his head. Yeah, I guess I always thought, I don't know, that if something like this ever happened, it'd be tense, awkward, but it's not. The room felt smaller now, not in a bad way, just like the air had thickened, with all the things left unsaid, all the possibilities neither of us had dared acknowledge until tonight. You okay? I asked, softer now. His gaze flicked back to mine, something vulnerable behind his usual confidence. Yeah, just nervous. I nodded. Me too. Another pause. His thumb was still brushing over my skin, and I realized neither of us had let go. Can I? He didn't finish the sentence. His eyes dropped to my lips for just a second before darting away again. My chest tightened. You can, I whispered. He hesitated for half a second longer, like he needed one last internal check. and then he leaned in. Slowly, carefully, like he was terrified of messing it up. Our foreheads brushed first. His breath hitched. Mine did too. Then his lips pressed against mine. Soft. Hesitant. Testing. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the kind of kiss you see in movies, full of fireworks and dramatic music. It was a first kiss laced with uncertainty, with years of thinking he was one thing and suddenly realizing he might be something else. But it was real, and it was everything. Evan pulled back just a fraction, eyes wide like he was waiting for me to tell him he'd screwed up. But all I could do was smile. That was... I started. Yeah, he cut me off, laughing nervously. Yeah. Before I could overthink it, he leaned in again, this time less hesitant. More sure. His hand slid up from my wrist to my forearm, pulling me just a little closer. The second kiss was firmer, warmer. His lips pressed against mine like he wanted to memorize how it felt. When he finally pulled back again, he exhaled sharply and ran a hand through his hair. Jesus. What are we even doing? I laughed, unable to help it. I have no idea. But his hand was still on my arm. I don't want to stop. Me either. He looked down at the space between us, then up at me. So, is this, like, are we doing this? I swallowed, my heart hammering so hard I was surprised he couldn't hear it. If you want to. Evan sat back a little, running both hands through his hair now, laughing like he couldn't believe what was happening. This is insane. I swear, when we got on that plane, I did not think this was how this trip was gonna go. Same, I admitted, grinning. For a minute, the energy shifted. Lighter now, almost giddy, like the weight of uncertainty had cracked open into something neither of us quite knew what to do with. Evan stood up suddenly, pacing the tiny space between the beds. I don't know what to do next. You don't have to do anything, I said, watching him. We don't have to figure it all out tonight. He paused mid-step, turning to face me. Yeah, but I kind of want to, I blinked. Yeah? He sat back down, closer this time. Our knees brushed easily now, and neither of us moved away. I mean, look, I don't know if this means anything, or what it means, but I know I don't want to pretend I don't feel it. Me neither, I said softly. Evan chewed the corner of his lip, his gaze dropping to my mouth again before dragging back up to my eyes. Can we maybe try that again? I didn't even answer. I just leaned in. And this time, it was different. This time, it wasn't hesitant or questioning. It was confident, warm, familiar in a way that didn't make sense, but felt exactly right. His hands slid to the back of my neck, fingers threading through my hair. Mine gripped the side of his jaw, feeling the stubble beneath my palm. His mouth was soft, but the way he kissed, it was like someone starving who didn't realize how hungry he'd been until the first bite. A little clumsy, a little desperate, but so good. When we finally broke apart, panting, laughing, both of us looking like we'd just run a marathon, he pressed his forehead against mine. Holy shit, he whispered. Yeah, I agreed, breathless. Then his hand trailed down, fingers brushing over my arm, lingering. You okay? I asked. Yeah, Evan said, nodding, smiling. Yeah, better than okay. He paused, then smirked. But, maybe you should teach me a few things. I arched an eyebrow. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he grinned, leaning in again. I've got a lot to learn. And just like that, the night wasn't even close to over. For a minute after that, we just sat there grinning like absolute idiots. Neither of us really knew what to do with ourselves, but the nervous energy had shifted. It wasn't awkward anymore, just electric. Evan pulled back slightly, still close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath. His fingers traced absently along the inside of my forearm, like he didn't even realize he was doing it. "I still can't believe this is happening," he murmured, half laughing. "Yeah," I breathed. "Me neither." Then his smile faltered, just a bit. Not in a bad way, more like his brain was catching up to everything his body was doing. "Is this weird for you?" I shook my head. "Not weird, just unexpected, but not bad." "Not bad," he repeated, a grin pulling back onto his lips. "Yeah, I like not bad." There was a long pause, long enough for the air to shift again. Not tense exactly, but charged. Curious, like both of us were wondering how far this was going to go and whether either of us was going to hit the brakes. Evan glanced down at where our knees were still pressed together, then looked back up at me. "So, if we kept going, you'd be okay with that?" My mouth went dry again. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I would." His lips parted and he shifted closer. Just enough that my back hit the headboard. Not rough, not pushy. Just sure. His fingers slipped down, finding my hand, lacing through my fingers like it was the most natural thing in the world. His other hand pressed against my chest, palm flat, like he was grounding himself, like he needed to feel me breathe beneath his touch to convince himself this was real. "Okay," he whispered. Then he kissed me again, and this time there was no hesitation. His lips were warmer, firmer. His hand squeezed mine tight as his mouth moved against mine, more confident now, like the last kiss had given him permission to let go of whatever doubts were still rattling around in his head. His hand on my chest slid upward, fingers brushing my collarbone, then curling around the side of my neck. The pressure of his grip wasn't rough, but it wasn't tentative either. It was deliberate, like he was claiming something he hadn't realized he wanted until now. I let my free hand slide up the side of his thigh, over the warm skin just above his knee where his boxer briefs ended. His breath hit sharply against my mouth. His fingers tightened at the back of my neck. "Holy, wow," he muttered, half laughing against my lips. I grinned. "Yeah, kinda crazy, huh?" Evan pulled back just enough to look me in the eye. You don't think this is a mistake, do you?" I shook my head, threading my fingers through his hair. "No. Do you?" His eyes softened, something vulnerable flashing behind all that usual confidence. "I don't know. I mean, everything I thought I knew about myself just kinda flipped." "Yeah," I whispered. "I get that. But I don't want to stop." "Then don't." Evan leaned in again, his mouth finding mine, more urgent now. His hands moved, one trailing down my side, fingers grazing the hem of my shirt, the other sliding back into my hair. His lips parted against mine, and the moment his tongue brushed mine, my whole body jolted. A tiny sound slipped from his throat, something between surprise and satisfaction. He pressed in harder, like he needed to make up for every second he'd spent not knowing this could happen. I pulled him closer, hands slipping beneath his shirt, fingertips tracing along the lines of his back, warm, firm, solid. His skin was burning beneath my touch, his muscles tensing as I dragged my hands up along his spine. "Jesus," Evan muttered into the kiss, breaking away just enough to catch his breath. His forehead pressed against mine, both of us panting. This is... Wow," I laughed, breathless. "That's all you've got?" "Wow." He grinned, pulling back just far enough to shove his shirt over his head. "Shut up." And holy hell, seeing him like that, bare-chested, flushed, eyes dark with something I hadn't ever seen in him before, it did something to me. Something dangerous. Something electric. "Your turn," Evan said, his grin crooked. I blinked. "What?" "Shirt. Off. Come on, man. Fair's fair." I snorted, but didn't hesitate. My hands fumbled, only slightly, as I yanked my shirt over my head, tossing it somewhere toward the foot of the bed. The second it was gone, Evan's hands were on me, fingers skating along my shoulders, my chest, like he needed to memorize every inch. His hands stilled over my heart. Dude, you're shaking. I looked down, realizing I was. Yeah, you too. He laughed softly, resting his forehead against my shoulder. Yeah, guess I am. His hand slid down my sides again, and when his fingertips dipped just under the waistband of my shorts, just testing the boundary, not crossing it, my breath caught. He looked up, meeting my gaze. Okay, I nodded. Yeah, definitely. Good, Evan murmured. Then his mouth was back on mine, and this time, nothing about it was careful. I don't know when the nervousness faded into something else, something hungrier, needier. Maybe it was the moment Evan's hand slid around my waist, pulling me into him so our bare chests pressed together, skin against skin, heat radiating between us like a live current. He kissed me harder now, no hesitation left, just this raw urgency like he couldn't get enough. His hands gripped my sides, fingertips digging into my skin, like he was afraid I'd slip away if he didn't hold me tight enough. I wasn't going anywhere. My hands roamed, over his shoulders, his back, feeling the smooth, warm stretch of skin over muscle. God, he felt solid. Real. His breath hitched when my fingers brushed the curve of his lower back, right where it dipped toward the waistband of his briefs. Jesus, he whispered against my mouth, breaking the kiss just long enough to suck in air. Why does this feel so... right? I breathed. Yeah. His lips were back on mine before I could say anything else. One hand sliding up to cup the side of my face, his thumb brushing along my jaw like he wanted to memorize the shape of me. And then we were moving, fumbling, laughing into each other's mouths as he pushed me gently back against the pillows. He hovered over me, his knees on either side of my thighs, hands pressed into the mattress on both sides of my head. Okay, Evan muttered, half to himself, looking down at me like he was trying to figure out whether this was real or just the weirdest, hottest dream he'd ever had. I reached up, fingers trailing down his sides. You okay? He nodded quickly. Yeah, just trying to not freak out. Hey, I said softly, my hand sliding up to cup the back of his neck, thumb brushing the hair at his nape. You don't have to do anything you don't want. I know. His voice was a little rough, a little breathless. That's the thing. I want to. For a second, all we did was stare at each other. His breathing was ragged, his pupils blown wide. His lips were red and swollen from kissing. And I knew, if I was reading him right, he wanted more. He just didn't know what to do next. I don't know what I'm doing, Evan admitted quietly, smiling sheepishly. That's okay, I murmured. We figure it out together. Yeah, he breathed, leaning down until his forehead was pressed to mine. Together. Then he kissed me again, slower this time, but deeper. Like he was learning me, testing what felt good. His lips moved from my mouth to my jaw, then down to my neck, and I felt the warmth of his breath as he hesitated. Can I? His voice was muffled against my skin. Yeah, I whispered, fingers tightening in his hair. Yeah, Evan? His lips pressed against the spot just below my jaw, then lower, warm and careful but curious. Each kiss sent a fresh wave of heat rushing through me, my pulse thrumming loud in my ears. Evan's hand slid down, along my ribs, my stomach, leaving goosebumps in their wake. His touch was a little shaky, but it was steady enough that there was no mistaking what he wanted. I tipped my head back, giving him more access, more permission. His lips trailed lower, mapping my skin in a way that was both innocent and anything but. His mouth hovered for a second right over the center of my chest, his breath hot against my skin. Then, almost like he was daring himself, he pressed a kiss there, slow, deliberate. God, Evan muttered, pulling back slightly, his hands running through his hair like he was trying to catch his breath. This is way more intense than I expected. I let out a breathless laugh, reaching for his wrist, tugging him back down so he was hovering over me again. Yeah, same. For a second, we just smiled at each other, nervous, giddy, a little disbelieving. But the tension hadn't gone away. It was still there, simmering beneath the surface, waiting. Do you want to keep going? I asked quietly. His gaze flicked between my eyes and my mouth. Yeah, if that's okay with you. It's definitely okay. He exhaled, grinning. Okay. Then he kissed me again, hand slipping under the waistband of my shorts. Not going any further, not yet, just resting there, like he was testing the boundary. His thumbs brushed the skin right above my hip bones, and my whole body jolted in response. Evan felt it, smirked against my mouth. Sensitive? Shut up, I muttered, laughing. But he didn't shut up. His lips curved into a grin as he pressed another kiss to my mouth, slower this time. His fingers trailed up and down my sides like he was learning every reaction, every shiver. God, you feel good, he murmured. You too. Evan pulled back just a little, sitting back on his heels, hands resting on my thighs now. He ran a hand through his hair, looking me over like he still couldn't quite believe this was happening. Okay, he said, breathing out a laugh. Confession. Yeah? I kinda don't want to stop. But also, this is new. I sat up slightly, my hands finding his. That's okay. We go as slow as you want. Or not at all. No, I want to, he said quickly. I really do, I don't know. I don't want to screw it up. I smiled, squeezing his hands. You won't. His grin softened. Promise. Promise. And just like that, something shifted again. He leaned in, cupping my jaw, and kissed me like he never wanted to stop. The rest of the night felt like this hazy blur of touch, breath, and half-whispered words. No rush, no pressure, just this slow, steady unraveling of all the tension we'd built up since the second we walked into that hotel room. Evan wasn't perfect at any of it, not yet. But the way he explored everything, the way he touched me like he was trying to memorize how every inch of me felt under his hands, it was honest, real, better than perfect. It was the way his hand trembled slightly the first time his fingers brushed skin he hadn't touched before. The way he laughed, a little breathless, when he realized just how sensitive I was in certain spots. The way his forehead pressed against mine between kisses, like he needed that little anchor to remind himself that this wasn't a dream. And me? I let him take his time. Let him figure it out at his own pace, guiding when I needed to, but mostly just being there. Letting him feel it, letting him want it. When things finally started to slow down, when the frantic energy shifted into something softer, quieter, Evan collapsed next to me on the bed, his head falling onto my shoulder, his arm lazily thrown across my stomach. For a while, neither of us said anything. The only sound was our breathing, gradually slowing back to normal, and the low hum of the air conditioner filling the room. Then, quietly, Evan muttered, "Dude, I can't believe that just happened." I smiled, running my fingers through his hair. "Yeah, same." He tilted his head up, looking at me. "I didn't freak you out, did I?" "Freak me out?" I echoed, turning my head to meet his eyes. "Not even close." Evan grinned, but there was something softer behind it now. A little more vulnerable. "I don't know what this means. Like, am I, what, bi? Gay? Confused? You don't have to figure it out tonight," I said gently, thumb brushing along his cheek. "It's okay to not know." He nodded, sighing into my shoulder. "Yeah, but I do know one thing." "What's that?" "I don't regret it." His fingers tightened slightly where they rested on my skin. Not even a little. That made something tighten in my chest. I turned my head, pressing a soft kiss to his temple. "Me neither." He was quiet for a beat. Then, almost shyly, he asked, "So, what happens when we get home?" I chuckled softly. "What do you want to happen?" Evan was quiet for a moment, like he was really thinking about it. Then he shifted, propping himself up on one elbow to look down at me. "I don't know how this works. Dating? a guy. But I kind of want to try. With you. My heart thudded. Yeah? Yeah. His grin turned crooked, like dinners, hanging out, kissing, figuring, whatever this is. I reached up, threading my fingers into his hair. I'd really like that. His smile softened. Cool. He leaned down, kissed me once more. Slow, warm, easy now. No nerves, no fear. Just us. Then he flopped back down onto the pillow, groaning. God, our coworkers are gonna be so confused when we show up to breakfast tomorrow. I laughed. Yeah, they are. Evan glanced at me, grinning. Worth it. Definitely worth it. We laid there like that, tangled together until we both drifted off. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely, ridiculously, unexpectedly happy. Whatever this was, whatever came next, we'd figure it out. Together. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.